In this video, we are going to do our capital N and lowercase n tracing worksheet for today. So go ahead and get the sheet in front of you, get you a pencil, and write your name up at the top here. That way I know who to give the credit to. Pause the video while you do all of that, and then resume it, and we'll work on this sheet. Now, remember, when we make our letters, we always start at the top and we come down. So even though these letter N's, these uppercase N's, are here for us to trace to begin with, we are not going to start at the bottom. We always begin at the top. Remember, our uppercase N is a frog jump letter. We begin at the top. We make a big line down, then we frog jump, ribbit, go back to the top. We slide down, and then we make a big line up. Let's go over that again. We start at the top. We make a big line down from the ceiling to the floor, ribbit. We jumped, we picked our pencil up and we jumped. Then we slide down to the floor and a big line back up to the ceiling. So the only time we pick our pencil up is we make that big line from the ceiling to the floor, and then we pick our pencil up and frog jump up. The other times while we're sliding down and we're making our big line up, the pencil stays down. What's my first step? Can you tell me? Big line from the ceiling to the floor. Ribbit. We're frog jumping. What's the next step? We slide down to the floor and then back up to the ceiling. What's my first step? Big line from the ceiling to the floor. Ribbit. We frog jumped back up. What's our next step? Slide from the ceiling to the floor, and then what's the next step? Big line back up to the ceiling. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and trace your second line of N's as well. Pause the video while you do that. And then whenever you come back, I will have all of these N's finished. Only do your second line. Okay, do you have your first and your second line of N's finished? Now down here, there is not anything for us to trace, but they did give us our dots to start at. Remember yesterday with our handwriting without tears sheet, we began at the dot where they gave us our dots. So we're going to put our pencil on the dot. We're going to make a big line from the ceiling to the floor. We're going to frog jump up, ribbit, slide down to the floor, and then big line back to the ceiling. Now notice this is where our second big capital uppercase N will begin. We have to keep our letters skinny enough so that they don't go over into the other letter space, because we all try to stay in our own bubble. We don't want to go over in that other letter space because it does not want to be squished. So we are starting at our dot. We are making our big line down. We are frog jumping, ribbit, back to the dot. Slide down to the floor and big line up to the ceiling, but we did not go into this letter space. This uppercase N will still have its own space. Big line down, ribbit. Slide down to the floor, back up, big line to the ceiling. Okay, go ahead and work on this line and finish it, and then come back and see me. Now you should have one, two, three rows of your uppercase N finished. Now we are going to trace a word that has the uppercase N in it. What is this a picture of? It's not a doctor, it's a nurse. We're going to trace the word nurse. Remember, we always begin at the top and we work our way down. Big line down, rip it. Now watch how I trace my U. We haven't covered the U yet, but I'm going to trace. I always stop at the top and work my way down, and we always work from left to right. We never start here and go back over. So we start at the top on the left side and work our way over. Now this S is a little different because it's a wiggly letter, so we do wiggle over this way, curve over this way, and then turn and curve the other way. And we have covered the letter S, so that should be good. Now this E, let me tell you guys, this E is a tricky letter to make. And we haven't covered it in class yet, but we're going to trace it. I start right here in the middle, and I do my line out. And then I'm up and over and around. Now that is a tricky letter to make, and we will practice that lowercase e a lot when we get to it, because I think it is about the trickiest letter that we have to make. Okay, make sure you have the front of this finished, because I am going to pause the video and I am going to flip my paper over and we can do the back of it. Now I have flipped my paper over and we are going to work on our lowercase n. See this section? It says name. I want you to use your pencil and write your name up there really nice for me. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to work on our lowercase n. Now look up here, it kind of helps us. It shows a 1 and an arrow down. And then it shows 2, how we go up and around to right here. So it gives us a little idea in case we need to remember how to make it. Remember, when we're tracing it, we always start at the top. And we're not going to go like this because we have this little part of the line there. So we need to start at the doorknob, the dotted line, and we dive down. And then we swim up and over and around. And see how if we dive down first, we can see our little bit of our line where we dove down. We don't have to go back and put it in if we make that line to begin with. So that's why we always dive down first. So we're going to dive down. We're going to swim up and over and down. Now notice I didn't say around. This is a straight line down. So we dive down. We swim up and over and down. Dive down. Swim up and over and down. Dive down. Swim up and over and down. Once you get those 2 lines finished, once you have those finished, then I want you to come back and we'll do this. But go ahead and pause the video and finish these 2 lines to begin with. Now, on this 3rd line, they did not give us the lowercase n to trace, but they did give us our dots to start with, just like on our handwriting without tears worksheet we did yesterday. So we're going to put our pencil on the dot, and we are going to dive down and swim up and over and down. Now notice, this is where my next lowercase n begins, and I made sure this one was skinny enough that he didn't come over into her space, because she needs her own space, her own bubble to live in. So we put our pencil on the dotted line, we dive down, we swim up and over and around. Put your pencil on the dot that's on the dotted line, dive down, swim up and over and down. Make sure you have this third line finished. Pause the video while you finish it and then come back, because we will talk about the bottom. This right here is a picture of what? It is a nest, like a bird's nest. So we're going to trace the letters for nest. We have N, E, we start right here and come out, and then it's a magic C. S, it's a small magic C. We turn and curve the other way. And then T is a big line down, and we cross it on the doorknob. So that is a nest. I want you to go ahead and neatly color the bird's nest, and I'm going to use brown because birds make their nests out of twigs that are brown. That nest was really tricky to color with all of those small twigs, wasn't it? But that's just how a bird builds its nests. It has little spaces in between the twigs, but it twists those twigs and weaves them around to build a nice little nest to lay its eggs in. And I think I am going to use my light blue, and I am going to draw a couple of blue bird eggs in the nest, because robins lay blue eggs, and I always loved to see the robin eggs because they are such a light and pretty blue. So my nest has a couple of little bird eggs in it waiting to hatch. Thank you for doing this sheet with me today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.